Feel like we're falling away. Maybe I just need to feel nothing to make it easier to turn away and leave. Maybe we're fanning the flame, so why do I keep holding out my hand to get burned? I don't wanna clash anymore. I can hear the ghosts in the walls. It's telling me to run away, yeah. I don't wanna crash anymore. I can hear the ghosts in the walls. It's telling me to run away.
Here in Monza, and it is a race opening victory for Eve. I'm still battling with Kuba.
You said you don't know me well, but I'm your angel in white. I'll be close if you come, I'll be just behind you. You're not on the list, but I can get you inside. Use your mind, listen to my voices, I'll guide you. You give yourself over, yeah, you don't wanna fight. If you do, I'm gonna bid you
But he's gone wide! Speedy's going incredible!
Take a trip to win, alright. And if you don't trust it, hold it up to the light. So quiet, try to hide it. If a new thought formed, we would swallow it down. Empty stairs, never question the illusion. If you play alone, they will leave you to drown. Stand up, 'cause we are the movement. Don't stop, straight into the dark. Wake up, 'cause this is the moment. And every fire starts with a spark. A revolution. Stand up, 'cause we are the movement. Don't stop, straight into the dark. Wake up, 'cause this is the moment. And every fire starts with a spark. A revolution.
Feel like we're falling away. Maybe I just need to feel.
Hello, 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 and yes, today you see my wonderful face. I do apologize if I've scared you, and we are currently setting up the lobby. I also sound like rubbish because I'm still a bit ill, so please do not mind the half gibberish I might sound like I'm saying. I am trying. But welcome back to FRLT. Hello everybody, welcome back. It's great to be back. I am currently on the hunt for a couple of different people. who just aren't popping up on my friends list, which is just fun. Just fun when people don't pop up on the friends list. But welcome back, everybody. Sadly, the most annoying thing is minutes before I started the stream, my lovely stream deck decided to just kill itself and just not do anything. It just decided not to do anything. And so I am currently waiting upon it to work, so I might have to do some updates to it or find a way to fix it. I have no clue how to fix it. And we will get to the track map very shortly, as soon as I've invited these couple of people who just don't seem to exist on my friend list anymore. I'm not sure why. Not sure why some people aren't on my friend list all of a sudden. It seems to keep happening recently. I've had quite a few people in the last week or so just seem to disappear from my friends list. So I am quite sorry to all of to everyone who just doesn't seem to be on my friends list anymore. It's really confusing, and I don't know why EA doesn't work the way it should work. But it's just deciding not to for some strange reason. I have no clue why, and I do apologize to everyone for the reason of that it doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure why. It just never seems to work on here. I'm not sure. I think I've just got too many friends. I do think I just have too many friends altogether. So that maybe needs to be the thing to change, but we'll find out with time. Again, it's just so much easier if people add me on Steam and they just join through my profile from Steam. It's just so much easier to do that than anything else. I know not everybody is on PC, so I'm not gonna have a go at anybody for that, but I think everyone gets what I mean. Yeah, we get a commentator. Yeah, I know I sound awful, but you get somebody at least. Everybody's joined. We've almost got everybody in. I'm still looking for the last couple of people, which is really irritating me now that I just can't... Just nobody seems to be popping up now. I will be coughing throughout tonight. I do have a chest infection, so please forgive me for that awful thing of having a chest infection, but I'm almost done with it, but I will probably cough multiple times during tonight. So don't mind that, everybody. I'm not dying yet. I'm not dead. I'm almost not yet. Or not yet. Yeah, bro. Yeah. It is impressive. Although it wasn't just like over the space of like, you know, a small bit of time. It was like over like 14, 15 years. So it's not like I've literally just like put it together in like the last year. So a lot of it's like old. And when I say old, I mean like old. Now is it when nobody seems to have the same name as they did? So I'm just looking for a couple of people. No. Oh my god. How is there just... It'd just be nice if people just had same gamer tag as they did. Let's see. This is actually being a pain to me today. EA is being an actual pain. It's the one very rare time, well, not very rare, it's just the one time that it is actually painful. Antonio Jizz is in. Just beaten. Okay. I've never found it this hard to find somebody. Like, in my life, I've never found it this hard to find one gamer tag. I'm not even kidding. I've never found it this hard just to find one person. This is like the first time that I'm genuinely struggling to find somebody that I should, like, it should be really easy to find. I'm not sure why I can't find him. I'm not sure why I cannot find. Who's missing? Okay. Okay, everyone's in. Cool. So let's actually get going now. I do apologize. You are seeing my face for very long today, but I will move on to everything else. So let's have a look at everything. Let's actually have a look now at everything. Track map. As you can see, Singapore, it is 5.065 kilometers long, 3.147 miles, 19 turns as well along the way. And I've just remembered what I've done wrong. Let me fix that. And that is fixed. I do apologize, everybody. I had the bitrate slightly changed because I did a stream on Twitch, so I can't have the bitrate at the same level. Here's the calendar. We have now gone through China, Austria, Imola, Great Britain, and Australia before Christmas. We did all of that. And now, for the first time in 2026, we race in no assists at Singapore. We did assists on Wednesday. Sadly, I was ill, and I didn't even really have a voice left. So I wasn't able to commentate, but we are here for Singapore. We've got Monza, Brazil, Netherlands, Las Vegas, and Japan coming up as well for the rest of the season. That all ends on the 14th of February is when we have a final race of the season. Looking at the standings, it's a very different picture from what we've seen in previous races. SCT get a double podium, pull themselves now 25 points ahead of Ventari in the championship. OMB as well with a solid finish to their evening, another 14 points going their way. We also see VRE take a second win to the season, becoming the first team to get 2 wins so far this season and pull themselves far clear of 5th. FCT also pulled themselves up into 5th in the Constructors, while AERT and AZR went pointless in Australia. ESPL also took a good 6 points. DLX taking a couple of points as well, taking a good 6 points, while XPG went pointless as well. A lot of retirements last week. But let's now get into the race. Yes, I will mute my mic multiple times during this evening because I will be coughing. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, guys. I am coughing. That is the reason why. There is no other reason. So don't be worried. So we are getting underway. And the first car out on track is going to be a Ventari. It is Zach Miles who's coming out onto track. First driver out on track this evening. We've got a couple of others of VREs also coming out. As you can see, very full grid, 19 out of 20 drivers. We've got all teams here. We're only missing one driver, and that is from ESPL, who sadly had a late-minute cancellation from one of their drivers. So they are only representing with one driver tonight. But I've got to say, some big guns being pulled out here in some of the big guns very much being pulled out here in Singapore. We've got Ventari throwing Zach Miles and Simon Engel into the paddock this evening. We've also got, for instance, AERT throwing in Caden and Mars, some of their best drivers out there, especially Caden. I think we've just got every team just throwing really well. AZR's thrown in Just Hood and just Betten or Beaton, either way. I'm going to say Betten just for the sake of it, but it's Justin. I'll call him Justin Benteke because that's who he is. But yeah, they've thrown in Justin as well this evening. We've got Ken Fish and Robin Langenbush for SCT. VRE return with Haquin Vigley and Jack Chu for the first time this season, with Jack Chu specifically. I mean, we got Dark Zaneas and Noah Raza from FCT, so really teams throwing some of their strongest drivers into this race. So let's ride on board with Zach Miles on his lap as he makes his way down the very short pit straight. It is into turn one, throwing the car into the left, through the right, kink, now into another left, almost like a hairpin that is, but Zach Miles makes it look very easy. Now heading up through into the right-hander of turn number 4. Whoa, a bit of a slide there, of course. The track hasn't been able to amp up yet. SET do have a double qualifying ban, so for Ventari, this is key this evening. Now into the left-hander goes Zach Miles. He's got to hit this right-hander. We saw in assists a lot of crashes through this section, but through into another left, a little bit more open this time, sliding, but all the way up to the wall, as you can see there. Now into the tight left, what used to be the Singapore sling, through the right, going a little bit wide there, a little bit of sliding again. Now into the hairpin, getting incredibly close to the wall, missing the apex just slightly. Bit more wheel spin for Zach Miles as he now makes his way down towards the final sector. Now he's gone a little bit wide again. A couple of struggles maybe coming for Zach Miles, but making his way up now through this back straight. You got to get it right. The Williams moves nicely out of the way, and that is exactly what he needed. I think that was Justin Benteke that moved out of the way quite nicely. Now into the final 2 corners, take it quite nicely using all of his battery, and up to the line. It's going to be a 1 minute 27.433 for the first lap time of the evening, and that is what's been set. Haquin Vigley is close to that with a 1 minute 27.549 for his first lap time of the evening. Next, we've got Jatchu coming up to the line. Let's see, can he beat that? I'd be very surprised if he could, but coming up to the line, he gets close. It's only going to be a 27.8 from himself, and that's what he's been able to do. So very strong from himself. Apologies to all for the pause. But we can also see Noah Raza gets very close within 15 thousandths of Zach Miles. Just Hood also into a 27.5. We saw Mars in a 28. Steve as well, quite low down. Dark Zaneas takes P4, also in a 27.5. Very close there. Anton. Simon Engel goes fastest of all. 1 minute 27.036. Ventari pushing for 1-2, pushing for pole, and wanting to take, also remember that point for pole position. If anybody forgot, you do get a point for pole, and Ventari want that point and to just get that one singular point closer before even the race begins. And so that is quite big. Alberto as well goes P7, we saw there. So very interesting to see off for this start. I think we got Justin heading round. Whoa! And that is a spin from Justin. And that's not what he would have wanted. Manolo is starting his lap now. I think, who do we have coming up to the line next? I'm not sure who we have. No, that was Quinn getting in front of Zach Miles, I believe. But next we do have Caden, who is on his lap. But he is low on fuel, so he's not going to be doing his lap. So he's obviously invalidated there. So, bit of disappointment for himself. We do have Danny Prusso making his way round. Let's see how he can do on his lap, sliding all around. He's the only ESPL driver out on the track tonight, so it's going to be important for him to prove himself and to at least net ESPL a couple more points. They scored 6 points last week. They're hoping for another 6 this week. It's definitely been an interesting season for ESPL. I think they've kind of sat in the area of that they've been quick at times, but they've also been sort of just kind of just a bit too far back to really get anywhere. And it is going to be P12, 1 minute 29.3 from Danny there. But I've got to say, you know, it's a strange position that ESPL have found themselves in. You know, they're there. They're decently there, sort of standings wise. They have a chance to push for 5th in the championship. They're within range, but they need a couple of big finishes. You know, we've seen FCT do it. And, you know, I think everybody knows ESPL need maybe just one big finish. As Manolo comes across the line to go P12, he does a 29.1. So pace not showing a lot from ESPL or XPG at the back of the grid by quite a decent chunk as well. Can DLX change that? Antonio 26.5 for the first sector. We know Antonio's showing some pace. He's been able to get into that top 10 often. For DLX. I think he is the only DLX driver to actually break inside of the top 10 this season. So they've really been made up by this one man here. But I've got to say the grid is going to be incredibly competitive tonight, as you can see. Ventari throwing everything they've got. FCT throwing what they've got. VRE throwing what they've got. AERT throwing what they've got. You know, we've got quite a few teams here throwing their best at it. And for SET, it's rather painful because they are stuck in the pits. They're stuck in the pit lane. They you know, double qualifying ban for a late lineup, and they're stuck in the pits. You know, Robin Langenbush already down to P18. Ken Fisher currently in P16. You know, they're going to be sitting down there quite low. It's surprising, I will say. It's a surprising thing to see, you know, from SET. Such a small but costly mistake, you know, a late lineup. But it just shows, you know, with at the moment Ventari 1-2, they could take 35 points at least as it stands from this evening. They're on their way to take 35 points if it ends this way with pole, and then in the race 1-2, 35 points would be massive for them. But, you know, there would be hopes to take a fast lap as well and take 36 points and take a massive chunk out of SET at least, or take the lead of the championship. You know, that's the hope for, and a big slide for Alberto there. But that's the hope for I think, Ventari tonight, is to take, you know, to take the lead of the championship, to really nail it home that this is their championship to win. And I'd be surprised to see it because, you know, last race, it was SET who kind of looked like they were possibly starting to seal the championship as Alberto goes 13th. But it looked like they were sealing the championship, sort of, you know, it was the sort of start of the end. We've seen it with teams like AMS in the past. About round 5 or 6 would be when they'd start to seal the championship and make it theirs. And this race, you know, and not this race, but last race looked like it. But this race, small mistake has led to them now having to start further back, as now Quinn Vigley, I think, hit into the hairpin wall and has lost an incredible 0.2 in his lap, I think, because of that. So, will he be going for another run? No. I think he's going to be... Is he going to be darting into the pits? No, he's still pushing up to the line. He still feels like he's got time in the lap. And he crossed the line, but he goes slower. So, in the end, it is disappointment for Quinn Vigley, not able to improve on his latest lap time. Zach Miles starts his lap now. The next driver to cross the line is going to be Haquin's teammate, Jatchu, who is currently slightly down on his lap time out of the first sector. Middle sector, is he improving? Yes, he is. By a massive quarter of a second, he could find himself up into P7 and get close to his teammate following right behind. So he's definitely on pace with his teammate. So VRE looking like they're not at the front of the pack this evening, like we saw last week with Quinn, but they look like they're definitely in the mix for double points this evening, and exactly what they need against OMB, who are struggling a little bit. And Jatchu finds 3.5 tenths and goes P4 when he crosses the line. Anton improves to P9, but it's just not enough when it comes down to it to get ahead of their championship rivals, VRE. It's just a little bit too late. And there goes Caden up to P5, and that's what AERT needed tonight. And there goes Alberto. Now he goes P5, and a great position gained. And Dark Zaneas goes P4 for FCT, really trying to catch up to his teammate. As his teammate, where's the teammate going to go? He goes P2 and misses out. Still 3 tenths behind Simon Engel, who actually pulls into the pit lane, not feeling like he needs to improve. Justin now goes into P14, and that's a solid improvement. Mars improves, but stays P11. And Zach Miles crosses the line to a 27.1 and goes back to the front row of the grid. And what a set of middle runs we have seen from everybody here. What an incredible set of middle runs from every driver here. I mean, absolutely insane. Ventari, though, keeping the dominance, P1, P2. FCT following behind P3, P4. So, you know, FCT looking to close up the championship. Alberto's retired. Has he crashed? Has he crashed? Is that what... He's crashed. Alberto has actually crashed and retired. And that's him done, and that is disappointment because OMB are now one leg down. They've lost one driver, and especially when the championship got a lot closer, down to just 19 points between them and VRE behind. This isn't what they needed to already have one driver behind. Both drivers are behind at least one VRE driver. Anton's behind both, and Alberto is just behind Jatchu, but this is not what they needed, not at this point, and it's really bad timing from themselves. Just Hood crossed the line to go into P4. He found a 1/10 of a second. That's a solid lap that he needed. Now splitting the FCTs in half. AZR really pushing hard when it comes down to performance. They need a better performance than last week, and they're looking to jump AERT in the standings, but it's looking incredibly close. Throughout the grid, it's undeniably close at the moment. We do have Antonio, who is on a lap. He's making his way round now. First sector, he's up by 91 thousandths of a second, which will actually gain him one position. It will get him up to P11 ahead of Mars. But you see, a lot of drivers are in the mix. I'd say P9 to P3 at the moment are so close, you know. I mean, literally, just 2/10 splitting them at the moment is just, it's crazy to see how close the grid is. But, you know, Ventari very much just in their own world a little bit at the moment. 3/10 ahead for Zach Miles, ahead of Noah Raza, and then Simon Engel another 1/10 in front of his teammates. So clearly, you know, there's something going really well at Ventari. We haven't really seen them this dominant all season when it comes down to qualifying. They've always been a little bit behind SET or somebody else when it's come down to qualifying. So it's interesting to see as Antonio invalidates his lap as he now pulls into the pit lane. So an interesting one there from himself. Very interesting to see nonetheless. Just Hood. Let's have a look at him. He's also pulling into the pit lane. We do have one driver on a lap. We only actually have currently 4 drivers out on track, about to become a 5th. But Alberto is the only driver on a flying lap. He's currently P16. He needs to, if he finds 2/10 of a second, just over that. He does have an AZR driver coming up, so it all depends. Will this AZR driver get out of the way nicely or not? Whoa, and a big slide for Alberto. Whoa, and a lot of slides, and it's round before the hairpin. It is spun round, and he is gone. Very... and he is round. He is round and his lap is done. Very interesting to see. Okay, let's look to the next driver to actually start a lap, and that is going to be Justin. He's going to be starting a lap. He's going to be the first of the last runs. Let's see. Let's ride on board with Justin on his lap. He needs to get something together here because he needs to find at least 7 tenths to get up to the back of the sort of point scoring positions. Steve is there, but sort of if he wants some really good points, he needs to find a lot of time. And in his first sector, he finds a 10th and a half. So it's enough at the moment to go into P13, but still it's not enough to go much further. And that's the worry for a lot of drivers at the moment. There seems to be quite a big split. I think it's so close. I think so many drivers are actually performing so well this evening that there's sort of a bit of a gap that anybody who's having just a bit of a struggle, just even a little bit of a struggle, is far behind as Alberto now retires. Another Alberto, DLX Alberto. Justin making his way round through the middle sector, through the hairpin. A little bit of slide there. What's he going to be improving on in his middle sector? He's up by 7 tenths of a second, and that's the time I'm talking about. That's going to get him nicely up in front of DLX Antonio. And that is Slipstream. Oh my god. AZR, please. Please learn from... Oh my god. And coming round the final corner and across the line, it's a second improvement to P10 for himself. And that is a great lap. And it's Noah Razza to cross the line next. He goes to provisional pole, 1 minute 26.877, and an incredible lap. Dark Zaneas also dips into the 1 minute 26s as well. Simon Engel is making his way around. He knows he has to find a lot of time, and he does. He finds 0.04 of a second over Noah Razza. Then we have Zach Miles, who's also improving by 0.2 of a second. He's looking to make it a front row. What can he do when he crosses the line? He goes to P3. He can't match his teammate on the front row. In the end, Haquin Vigley goes P5, and that's the lap he needed. Now, looking at Danny, he's invalidated. So who is next? Who is next to cross the line? It's going to be Mars. He's heading round next. He's up by 0.2 of a second. He needs quite a bit of time. He only goes P11, and that's not exactly the time that he needed when he crossed the line. Jack Chu has failed to finish his lap, so disappointment for himself there. Now, looking at, I think Manolo crossed the line to go P14. Now, Steve crosses the line. He stays P15, so that's the way it's going to end for himself. Now we've got Caden coming round. He's improving by a massive amount. And coming to the line, he goes P6 in the end. And that's a great improvement that he needed. Anton can't improve when he crosses the line. Now we look to Antonio. He improves slightly, but not his position. And I think that is almost everybody. We've got Just Hood, who's coming across the line. He improves. He goes P5. He jumps Haquin Vigley in the end. But I believe that is everyone at the end of qualifying. And it is Simon Engel on pole. And it was a very close pole, but it was impressive. And it was an incredibly impressive lap right at the end for Simon Engel. Those last few moments really counted for Ventauri and really mattered to them when it came down to position. And in the end, this is the grid. It is Simon Engel on pole, followed by Noah Razza, Zach Miles, Dark Zaneas, Just Hood, Haquin Vigley, FRT Caden, Jatchu, Alberto, Justin, Mars, Anton, Antonio, Manolo, Steve, DLX Alberto, Danny, Ken Fisher, and Robin Langenbush, with the final two, of course, serving a qualifying ban for this evening. Good qualifying, though, from, for instance, VRE. Very rare to see. P6, P8. Very close between the two. We haven't seen that all season from VRE. We haven't seen that. I've got to say, you know, it's very interesting to see. It's a rare one. I'm going to be honest. It is a rare one to see from our so it's very rare to see, you know, from I you know, I know it's mean to say, but I think there's some teams that are close and there's others that aren't. And I think VRE have shown this season that they're not. The closest race finish they've had is P4 and P8. So 4 positions difference, but they've averaged at about 9. On average this season, yes, 9 positions difference is what they've actually averaged at. Which I've got to say is insane to see. It's actually 8.8 they've averaged at. So roughly about 9. But 8.8 is the average gap they've had between teammates, which is absolutely insane. But yeah. So here we go. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in Singapore for FRLT. No assist, round number 6 in season 6. And Simon Engel leads away into turn 1. But no, Raza is right up his gearbox through the first couple of corners. Haquin Vigley fighting further back, as you can see, absolute chaos happening through the first couple of corners. Now heading through the right-hander. I think Danny has had a spin as he's left behind with yellow flags around that Aston Martin. You can see absolute chaos happening in the mid-pack. But Simon Engel leads away, and it's a very good start from himself. Dark Zaneas battling with Zach Miles for position, and it is incredibly close between everybody. Now Zach Miles around the outside. He's trying to get the grip. He's struggling to get the grip, but he gets the drive out of the corner, and then ultimately he's able to hold on to P3 for now. Ultimately, Haquin Vigley lost position there. He's down to P7. A bit of a slow start from himself, and that is not what he needed. Even on those medium tyres, it is a struggle out there. You can see people sliding absolutely everywhere here at night. Ken Fisher with an absolute beautiful start, already up to P12 very early on, and it's exactly what he needed in this race, is to get himself back up into the points. Now SET are scoring points, and they're back up with a chance to hold on to their championship lead out of this evening. But it is looking incredibly interesting right off the start. Already fiery battles everywhere. You can see Simon Engel is already starting to build the gap. He wants to get that gap to over a second. He wants to reach that safety of not having the problem of the driver behind having DRS. That really is the key thing for him right now, is to get outside of that DRS, get outside of the problem, and he already has. There we go, 1 second. That gap is just going up massively already, over a second in the lead. Simon Engel is disturbingly fast for pace off for this race start. I have to say, he is absolutely gunning it away from the rest of the grid, and he's doing quite well to do that so far. And I don't think Noah Raza is going to have the same luck, because Zach Miles is still within DRS, and so is the rest of the grid. And still, it's looking pretty problematic for some. Dirty air really being a problem for some drivers, but it's not been a good start from Jatchu either, down in P10. He's having a bit of a struggle, and that's just not the start you really need, especially for VRE when they're battling with OMB championship-wise, you know, to gain in championship. It's just really not what they needed. 1 point gained over Alberto, currently 6 points for OMB. It's 7 and then 4, so 11 points for VRE, but that's just not enough, especially with FCT P2, P4 at the moment, on for 26 points this evening as it stands. I mean, that would be massive. That almost doubles their championship so far this season. They're on 32 points out of the first 5 races. They're almost doubling that already. So to go to 58 points out of round 6 would be a massive gain in their championship and pull them up into contention for 3rd in the championship. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Ethan. I do. I do own them. But I also love to brutally roast them. It is quite funny sometimes. But as you can see, I've got to say, I'm quite impressed by Caden's start here. He's actually gotten away quite well, gaining a couple of places off that start. he looked a bit off in qualifying. He didn't look exactly confident with the car. He looked like he had a couple of problems. So I've got to say, it's a good turnaround already here into Singapore. It's been a very good turnaround from himself. And that's exactly what AERT needed from last week. They needed a big turnaround into this week. No points last week, and already, on for 13 points this week. It's an improvement. It's a big improvement for them, and it's a big chance in their championship to take their biggest score of the season so far. So we'll have to see how the rest of their race goes. But looking at the lead, Simon Engel almost pushing that gap to 2 seconds already. He's absolutely flying away from the grid off of this first couple of laps. And it's very impressive to say nonetheless. But Zach Miles, we've also got to look at this man. He's absolutely doing an insane job at the moment because he's right on the back of Noah Raza. And he's looking to make the move because, of course, Ventari want this 1-2. They want to take an easy 1-2 finish, bring it home. And I've got to say, it looks like FCT definitely focused a bit more on qualifying. I'd say maybe 60-40, focused a little bit more on the qualifying than the race, while maybe Ventari have sort of gone the same way. But Simon Engel definitely going a bit of a different way because he's so much quicker. But now, here comes Zach Miles. He goes to the inside line, heading down the inside. He makes the move, and it's a very smooth and easy move for the Ventari driver as he makes his way past FCT Noah Raza, and it's a very nice move indeed, and a very much big championship-changing move as well, because still down in P12 and P15 are the SCT duo. They've not been able to make moves, and this is the problem with Singapore. After the first couple of, first few laps, moves become very difficult to make, and we're starting to really notice that because Ken Fisher's now from lap 1. He's at the end of lap 1. He was in P12. He's still in P12 now, and yes, it's a long race to go, 31 laps, but it's worrying to see that still on lap 4 he's in P12. And there goes Joaquin Vigley, who has made his way past Caden, who's obviously made quite a big mistake, as Mars also tries to pull past his teammate, as he does in the end. But I've got to say, very interesting, and the first big mistake we've seen of the evening from a team. But it's a nice move made for Joaquin, and it's back up into the 8 points for himself. He, of course, scored. Whoa! Whoa, Caden! He's going all over the place. Something's gone wrong. Maybe some wheel problems kicking in for himself. But he's down to last. And for AERT, pain continues after the winter break, after the Christmas break. Oh my god. Pain continues for AERT. Just unbelievable. Now, Ken Fisher up to P11, and Robin Langenbush has made his way up to P12 as well, making a couple of moves quite nicely there. And those are a couple of moves he needed to make as well. So Robin Langenbush made 3 moves quite quickly, which is exactly what he was looking for. But just so unlucky for Caden there. Another driver. We saw Danny, by the way, who's actually retired from the race. He becomes our first retiree already. But on to lap 5. And Zach Miles is closing the gap on his teammate. Already down to 1.6 seconds, so half a second closer than what we saw a few laps ago. Well, actually, only about a lap ago. But you can see FCT just about keeping up. Joaquin Vigley, though, 1.5 seconds behind and just Hood in P5. So possibly the battle for P6 is where he's going to be standing for the rest of the race and where he's going to be. But for now, we're going to have to wait and see because, it looks like he's got some decent pace over Alberto behind. But again, this is very much a track and a race where you have to wait and see, where you have to, it's the slow culmination of sort of energy and ERS and sort of strategy that ultimately makes the moves. That's what makes, I think, Singapore so different, is that you can't just send moves anywhere. And Caden now retires from the race, and that is our second retirement. AERT, oh, poor AERT, another evening of despair for them. Oh, another retirement, third retirement. in 2 races, 75% finish rate in this race and last. Not going too well in the AERT camp. Steve battling with Anton for position, heading into the next corner. Who's going to take P13? It's a final points position. 1 point is up for grabs here. Anton is really pressuring Steve here. Look at this. He's just taking any line he can, the most defensive line he could. XPG really wanted to get a point after the double DNF last week. Drivers going absolutely everywhere. Here comes Antonio down the inside. He's trying to make the move. He's trying to make it past, and Antonio makes the move past as Alberto for OMB makes his way past to Quinn Vigley for P6 as well. So, very interesting. Sort of some battling everywhere, but that group towards the back of the grid now sort of falling off far behind the rest. As now Justin makes a move past Jatchu, and so does Ken Fisher. But maybe Jatchu there looking like he might have gotten a bit pushed off, so there might be a report to be seen there. But still looking around and waiting for everyone else. But now look at this, the lead has closed up, and now 4 drivers are all within DRS of each other for the potential chance to win the race. So there could be a battle coming on here very soon. Still, as we watch on, the racing proves that I think the thing that makes Singapore so, brilliant is the fact that you've got to be really focused in the zone, just completely focused on driving for the entirety of the 31 laps. No mistakes, no errors. You know, you've got to be perfect from start to finish. And that's honestly what we see at in this race so far. We've seen the top 4 very much be without mistakes, and I think they're proving why they're so good. And Just Hood will become the first driver of the evening to get a penalty for track limits. 3-second penalty for himself. That will drop him down to P8. So that's going to be a big loss for AZR this evening. Maybe their week not going as well as they thought it was. Still, there's a lot of this race to go. Anything could change. Still, we're yet to see the pit stops. I'm really wondering, how is the tyre wear looking for the drivers and for the teams? You know, sort of, what's the tyre wear looking like? Is it looking strong for some? Is it looking bad? What is it like at the moment? Where is everybody looking at right now? When it comes down to it, where is everybody looking at for tyres and for everything else, you know, sort of ERS and stuff? Definitely Just Hood struggling to keep up now. Definitely his mediums struggling a bit more than they were earlier, because we've just seen Alberto, he's just caught up by about 0.2 in the last lap, and Just Hood has also dropped about 0.7 as well, so he's dropping a lot of time right now. And now we watch as the leaders, very calm. No battling really between the leaders so far. Of course, the Ventari teammates working together to hold on to the 1-2. FCT working together to be P3, P4, but hoping sort of probably towards more of the end of the race that they'll attack. I think a lot of teams are very much focused on tyre wear right now. That definitely seems to be a pretty big focus, is the tyre wear. How well are their tyres going to hold on? At the moment, it's looking like everybody's tyres are okay, except for AZR's. AZR's looking like they're struggling quite a bit for tyre wear, when really you need to be, you really need to be sort of on it. As you can see, Alberto now closes down to just a second gap. And now that goes below a second. It looks like Alberto is going to catch up to Just Hood and make up a position here. No, Ethan, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. I'm actually enjoying this. This is what I needed. After with my chest infection and with me being ill, this is what I needed. A chill race. Even no matter if people call this a boring track, it always has a place in my heart because I do love it and I am good at it. But I needed a chill race. I needed a chill race. I've got to say, look at that gap now with Just Hood. He's now 4.2 seconds behind the top 4. I mean, that's a decent chunk of the track now. As now P6 to P8 has caught up. 3 drivers behind have now caught up. Ken Fisher's also starting to catch a bit more in P9. He's starting to catch up quite a bit, so he might be pushing for position as well. But it's important here because and somebody comes into pits. That's Zach Miles, first pit stop of the evening. Ventari pulling the trigger. Maybe this is to get FCT to pull the trigger as well. Maybe make a mistake. Choosing the undercut. Is anybody following? Hard tyres go on for the Ventari driver. And he's going to come out. He will come out in P15. Actually, DLX Alberto follows him in as well. Only other driver to stop here on lap 11. So the mediums, we could say, are probably going about 10 to maybe 12 laps. So the hards, I think, will go to about 18 to 20 laps. So very much it is possible to go to the end of the hards, but it might be very difficult nonetheless. Now, will Simon Engel come in? No, he won't. But Noah Raza does. FCT definitely feeling the pressure. I've got to say, FCT definitely felt the pressure there, but look at that, 3.6 seconds in just one lap. One lap. And that's 3.8. Look at that. That's a massive gap. And that's going to be sending alarm bells to Dark Xenaeus, who's currently 3 seconds behind Simon Engel. Alarm bells are going to be going off now for everyone, because we also saw Joaquin Vigley pit. And if we think it's about a 3.8 second sort of gain, that means he will pull ahead of Alberto by a mile. But Just Hood as well, Just Hood, ahead of him, also stopped. So Just Hood might actually save quite a few positions here if he comes into the pits this lap. Let's see. Simon Engel, is he going to come in? He's gone long. He's going longer. He's going to go on to a 13th lap on the medium tyres. He thinks he can. So does Dark Xenaeus, following Simon Engel along as well. We see quite a few others now coming into the pits. We can see a lot of drivers feeling like it's time to come in. Robin Langenbusch now takes P3. And we can now see Antonio. What's interesting is tyre-wise, nobody went for the hard tyres to start with. No hard tyre starters. Everybody on mediums. And now everybody's switching to hard tyres. So, interesting one there. Definitely very interesting to see. Haquin Vigley, where's he going to come out? He's going to come out quite a decent chunk, actually. He's going to come out quite far ahead of Alberto. Look at that gap. 3 seconds between him and Alberto. That is a massive gap. And now only him is only Haquin Vigley is now running in for P7 at the moment to get ahead of Just Hood. Very interesting to see. So, as we watch on, my question is, where are these two going to come out? Because as you've just seen, Simon Engel's going on to lap 14. He's going for another lap. But Dark Xenaeus feels like it's time to come in. If we look to, where's Zach Miles? There's Zach Miles. How much time has he actually gained on Dark Xenaeus? Look at that. He's absolutely miles in front. Oh my god, they are absolutely split across. Haquin Vigley as well, by the way, is also catching up to... he's also caught up to Dark Xenaeus as well. So this has actually turned out perfect for Haquin, because it's actually meant that he's currently battling for P4. He's now on for a chance for P4 in this race, not P5 that we were seeing earlier. So he's absolutely gained far ahead. But there goes Dark Xenaeus already. I don't think really Just Hood or Haquin will be able to battle on pace-wise. But maybe the DRS will keep it in for them. Maybe, maybe not. As Mars makes his way past Ken Fisher. First time this evening we're seeing SCT actually get overtaken and not be the ones overtaking. So maybe the hard tyres not working as well for SCT as the mediums were. Now Simon Engel does come into the pits finally. By the way, there goes Haquin Vigley. Dark Xenaeus has disconnected. He's disconnected. And that allows Haquin Vigley and Just Hood to easily pull up into P4 and P5. And look at this. Here comes Simon Engel, who's just going to be just in front of these two as well. And that's awful for Simon Engel, because he's absolutely been caught out by a massive undercut. Yes, these two will already have slightly more worn tyres, but they've got DRS. This is going to prove to be quite difficult here. What is going to happen? What is going to happen indeed? And I've actually got to look at... I've got to invite somebody, because they're disconnected. He's not there. Not there. He's not there. He's not on my list. I don't see him on my list. I'm looking. I'm looking for a Dark Xenaeus, but I'm not seeing a Dark Xenaeus. He joined via Steam, I believe. If I'm correct, he joined via Steam. I think he joined via Steam. Yeah, I don't have him. And now Mars, making his way past Dark Xenaeus as well. As now, Dark Xenaeus is back in. But Zach Miles leads the way quite easily. As now we watch as Zach Miles goes on to lap 17 into the second half of this race. As we go, Simon Engels just set the fastest lap of the race as well. Robin Langenbush gets past Jatchu for position up to P12. Jatchu just going backwards this evening, not going well race-wise for the VRE driver. Dark Xenaeus gets past Mars, P8 once again, as now he chases to catch back up. But he's got a long way to go, 5 seconds just to catch up to P5. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Not with the traffic in front of him as well. Still, for Dark Xenaeus, he needs to make up this move now on Ken Fisher. He needs to do this sooner rather than later if he really wants any chance of getting up into the top 5. Jatchu gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I've got to say, people have been incredibly good this evening for track limits, especially for how the track can catch you out quite a bit. So I just know, now that I've said it, everybody's going to start getting penalties. But I've got to say, there goes Dark Xenaeus. Maybe he's listening to me. Maybe he's watching the stream and he's listening to me as he now makes the move up into P7. Nicely done there from the FCT driver. So now we watch Zach Miles extends the gap to almost 4 seconds now. The gap extended to almost 4 seconds. He's been able to extend that too. Apologies, everybody. Just having to quickly scroll through something, but interesting race as Steve has also retired. I didn't even notice that. Now, Haquin Vigley goes up to P4 in this race. It's a good move for Haquin Vigley there because it's a move that he needed to make, and it's up to P4, and now gives him a bit of a gap between him and Alberto. At least puts one car in the way that will defend. For Haquin here, you know, this, I think for Haquin and VRE, this will be a good finish for them. Taking 12 points out of their evening, you know, another 12 points in their championship, up to 80 points they'll go after 6 races. Very close to what they did last season. I think they scored 82 points across 7 races. So I've got to say, after 6 races, they'll already have 80 points. I think it was 82 or 83 points they scored last season. It's not doing too badly, but it's still, I think, you know, sort of equaling out roughly in performance when it comes down to points-wise isn't great. You know, you always want to do better than you did the previous season. But I've got to say, still proving to have some pace out on track, still proving to be quite quick and moving quite well. The team that's kind of stopped moving is SCT. They've kind of completely frozen in this race because P8 and P12 still 8 points up on the table, but still only going up to 138 points in their championship. Will be their worst race of the season so far, while Ventari gain 18 as there's actually a battle for the lead, a battle for P2, sorry, into this section. Look at this, Simon Engel with the, of course, the massive tyre wear advantage. He just wants to get past Noah Raza. Here he goes, down the inside. He makes the move. And there goes Simon Engel up into P2. And at the moment, Ventari will score the maximum 36 points. So they will go up to 141 points after tonight's race. So they will reach 141 points. So at the moment, as it stands, Ventari take the lead of the championship by just 3 points. Yes. Just 3 points. They take the lead by just a very mere 3 points in the championship. That's all Ventari will lead by after their second win of the season. And I've got to say, it's so interesting to see. As, you know, it still proves that even though the points are tighter and it's closer, one bad race can leave the championship in a very different order, and we're going to see that here this evening. FCT are going to close up to 3rd and 4th in the championship. Then VRE are going to be closer in the battle with OMB. They're going to close up very slightly, or actually they're going to actually lose points this evening. Sadly, they're actually set to lose 2 points this evening. 1 point actually, if you think about it, only 1 point. But yeah, 1 point. But still, you know, closing up between some of the teams higher up. We're still seeing DLX and XPG at the bottom of the order, sitting roughly where they were before. We've got AERT that are still sitting in this strange area of the mid pack, but not really fully in there. They, you know, on for another 5 points. Oh, and there goes Mars's front wing end plate. What, I really did speak too soon. But yeah, P9 at the moment. You know, to be fair, P9, 5 points for AERT. It's not great for them. You know, 29 points so far this season. Another 5 points, bring them to 34. It's not going to gain them anything championship-wise. Because they're behind FCT, and with AZR also scoring more points than them this evening as it stands, it's, you know, it will be, they will drop a place actually in the championship. So for AERT, it's not a good day. They're dropping to 7th in the standings. 7th in the championship out of round 6. And this season's not really been the same as last season for them in no assist. Last season, they were sort of getting their act together a little bit, pushing a bit more, pushing the boundaries, starting to make a couple of sort of good performances. But this season, they just haven't really been able to do it. They've had 29 points now. As there goes DLX Alberto, who also retires. 4 drivers now retired from 4 different teams. But yeah, I think, we've now seen, sort of AERT 29 points in, 5 races. That's not where you want to be. As, especially as a team that was doing so well last season. Hopefully in the last of 4 races of the season, we see AERT maybe pull it together a bit more. Maybe get a couple more points, but this season has just not been the same. I will also say that this season's been quite a bit more focused on the front runners. Top 2 very much scoring most of the points possible. I mean, you look at Ventari and you look at SET, 130 and 105, 235 points between the 2 teams. That's more, by the way, that's actually more. I think that's either just slightly more or just a bit less than what the rest of the grid has actually scored. Together, I'll actually work that out now because it actually makes some sense. Because if you look at it, it's quite interesting to see how most teams haven't done exceedingly well. Now Simon Engel takes the lead of the race from Zach Miles. But yeah, the rest of the grid has scored slightly more. But again, it's not a lot more. They've only scored about 20 odd points more. They've only scored about 20 odd points more than the top 2 in the championship combined. As Darkson Ace now gets past Alberto for P6, and that's a good move for himself. And a good move, actually, when it comes down to championship-wise. As Alberto gets a 3-second time penalty, that's going to work SET's way. Still, I think everyone gets what I mean, though, that, it's pretty strange to see this season, it being so spread out, especially with last season. There was sort of, at this point, round 6, there was still 4, I think there was still 4 teams in championship contention. I'd say were properly inside of the championship contention. We had SET, OMB, EVR, and I think those were the 3, and I think we also had Rosso as well last season. So there were, those sort of 4 teams. I think with SKG as well, so 5. So half the grid were all in contention. And now, of course, there's only really 2 teams in contention, of course, that being Ventari and SET. But as it stands, I'm not sure who's going to win, who's going to lead the championship now, because Ken Fisher is going to go up to P6, and Robin Langenbush is scoring 3 points. So 11 points, so 1-4-1, and that's what Ventari are going to have, 1-4-1. So I think Ventari will simply take the lead of the championship purely based off of wins. That will be the reason why they take the lead of the championship, is based off of wins. They'll have 2 wins this season, versus I believe SCT, who have just 1 victory this season. So that's the only thing keeping Ventari in the lead of the championship now. So all they've got to do is just hope that either Ken Fisher or Robin Langenbush gets a 3-second time penalty and drops a point or 2. That's what really these teams are going to be hoping for the rest of this race now, is just somebody else makes a mistake. For these last sort of 6 laps, that's what it's going to be about. And we're seeing that here, seeing that now, that some teams clearly know that the only way they're going to go up is if somebody else makes a mistake, and that's I think truly what we're seeing right now. If somebody else makes a mistake, then somebody else will go up. So we got to wait and see. But I've got to say, Simon Engel, what a driver he's been. What a drive he's had. Pole, he's back in the lead of the race. He's led most of the race. He stretched mediums longer than anybody else did. And he's now just walking off into the lead, already 2.5 seconds ahead of his teammate. And he's just going to keep going in that direction. I've just noticed as well, Quinn Vigley is getting a big line of cars behind him, going down to P8 currently. So, Quinn Vigley on for a chance for P4. As we watch on. This could get interesting. I think very much in the next couple of laps we're going to see. We're going to see as this gets interesting. As we watch on, as Quinn Vigley battles for P4 here, but he's 5 seconds away from P3, so no podium. But now it's all about just holding on. Darkseneus now up to P5, so the battle for P4 is really on. And remember, Quinn Vigley has his tyres a couple of laps older. I mean, look at it, 14 laps, 2 laps older than Darkseneus, 1 lap older than Alberto and Ken Fisher. But we're going to have to wait and see. How is this going to go? Where is this going to go? We'll be waiting and watching. Now Quinn Vigley, his main problem is going to be this much younger tyre running car behind. 2 laps younger tyres. That's probably, at the moment, I'd say maybe about 1/4 of a second to 3/10 a lap. But here comes Darkseneus. He pulls to the right-hand side. Quinn Vigley chooses the inside line, but he's got to follow behind as he sadly drops down to P5 in this race. Darkseneus has been a lot quicker, but it's been a good recovery from the disconnection he had. It's been a very strong recovery from himself to pull back up into P4, back into a chance to support his team. And Quinn Vigley, though, remember, Quinn Vigley's fighting for something a little bit different. He's fighting championship-wise. 10 points. If Alberto goes down to P8, that's 6 points, and it's 2 points for his teammates, so 8 points. So at the moment, still VRE only gained 1 point. They've turned it around, so they could gain just 1 point over OMB this evening, close it from 19 points down to just an 18-point gap. But they need a big evening here. They really need a big evening. And we've got 4 laps of the race remaining. What's going to happen here on the final 4 laps? But I've got to say, Quinn Vigley been able to keep up with Darkseneus quite nicely, just so he can stay within the DRS. So maybe Darkseneus finding a couple of problems of his own along the way. To anybody wondering why I keep turning off my mic, it is because I am chewing sweets to stop me from coughing. I am chewing Mentos. It's the only thing that seems to stop me from coughing. So don't mind me switching off my mic occasionally to have a chew on some Mentos. Alberto gets past Just Hood, who's actually disconnected. No? What's happened there then? I'm not sure what's happened there for Just Hood. He's definitely had some sort of problem there. On to the final 3 laps of tonight's race. That's been a very interesting race so far. Not for action-wise. I don't think we could ever say the action has been the thing that's been the main entertainment. As Jatchu going very slowly in on the pit straight and down to P14 and outside of the points. And it looks like he's had a bit of a half spin there, and that is disappointment for VRE. It's a lot of disappointment. Unbelievable. Unbelievable there. For back-to-back races now, the gap in the lead has been absolutely massive. You know, this race we're looking at an 8-second gap between P1 and P2. Last race we saw a 9.5 second gap between P1 and P2 at the race finish. And it's insane to think that, you know, to look at it, you know, it's pretty crazy. The 2 biggest winning margins coming from these 2 races, the one before Christmas and the one right after the Christmas break. You know, it's an interesting one to look at, you know, in that way that, you know, so both these lap times are absolutely, you know, both these sort of leads are absolutely massive. And you could see it on the track map in the bottom right, how big an 8, you know, almost a 9-second lead is. And there goes Zach Miles, almost bringing this to a 9-second lead for Simon Engel. At this rate, Simon Engel could actually reach 10 seconds tonight, currently at 9. You could see Noah Raza as well catching up to Zach Miles quite quickly. 1.2 seconds now is the gap. But again, another second found between Simon Engel and Zach Miles. So it's been a very interesting race. I've got to say, Simon Engel has really shown his pace and really shown his ability and proven his ability here tonight. As we now go on to the final lap of the race, I am just going to watch as long as we can with Simon Engel, because I've got to say, this has been an incredible race. Zach Miles gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. The 1-2 finish might be ruined for Ventari. It might be ruined. Has he pushed too early? And that could now lose Ventari. Their 1-2 finish, it's set to lose them. The 1-2 finish, unless Zach Miles can find another 1.5 seconds in this lap over the man of Noah Raza, which I don't think he'll be able to. But we also saw Anton get a 3-second time penalty. That's not going to affect his position. But I've got to say, chaos right at the end. Alberto now makes the move on Haquin Vigley for position. Haquin struggling for tyres. He's struggling for grip. As cars now start to make their way past. But now he's got to make sure he doesn't let Ken Fisher by at any moment. He cannot let the McLaren pass. He cannot allow the SET driver to get past and get more points and get that P5 over himself. Then 10 seconds. The lead has reached 10 seconds. Now Simon Engel leads tonight's race by just at that 10-second mark. As now, heading round the final 2 corners, Simon Engel will win in Singapore in round number 6 of FRLT. No assists, season 6. And what a win it is. His teammates might have a penalty, but at least he tried. 2.2 seconds it goes to, but he's going to finish P3 with no Raza in P2. Darts Nares finishes P4. Alberto crosses the line in P5, but it'll be Joaquin Vigley in P5. Ken Fisher P6, Alberto 7th, Mars in 8th, Robin Langenbush in 9th, Justin in 10th, Just Hood drops down to 11th, Anton 12th, Antonio 13th, Jatchu is next to cross the line as he comes across the line in 14th, and now Manolo coming up to the line next to cross the line in 15th and last this evening, 22 seconds behind P14. But the biggest winning margin of the season, 12.6 seconds in the end after penalties. 12.6 seconds, absolutely insane to see. In the end, very interesting race, which we'll move on to in a second. As you can see, Ventari don't capture the full points, but it is P1 and P3 for Ventari with Simon Engel, and then it is No Razor in second for by Zach Miles and Dark Snace. No changes in the top 4 when it comes down to the finishing positions. Joaquin Vigley finishes 5th, Ken Fisher with a great comeback to 6th, Alberto 7th, Mars 8th, Robin Langenbush 9th, Justin in 10th, Just Hood in 11th, Anton 12th, Antonio 13th, and that is the rest. I've just got to quickly scroll so I can note it down for the standings. I've got to say, impressive. I am eating, by the way, so I don't care. But yeah, I'm eating this. I'm eating this so I can actually speak, because I'm losing my voice from this slowly, and I am actually I'm having to eat these to keep my voice, so don't mind me. These Mentos have been a lifesaver for me. I will be honest, they have been a lifesaver tonight. But yeah, so with that is tonight's race and stream over, and it's great to be back. Of course, I'm still a bit ill, but I can't lie, it is just brilliant to be back once again for this season. It's been so incredible from race to race. Every single race, every single moment has just been incredible, so it is great to be back. And also, with this being the end, we'll go over the usual couple of things. So looking at the calendar, we've gone through China, Austria, Imola, Great Britain, Australia, and Singapore. Next week, we go to Monza, then Brazil, then the Netherlands, Las Vegas, and then Japan to end off the season on the 14th of February. So in just over a month's time, yes, literally just over a month's time, like a month and 4 days, we will be going to the finale. So I can't lie, it's so weird thinking that it is only a couple of races away. It's so unbelievable. I don't really know what to say about it, to be honest. That it is literally, it is like 35 days. 35 days away. I cannot believe the end of the season is already that close. But with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me. Thank you so much for all the support this season and all of the help from just everybody. I hope everybody does have an absolutely great day. Also, big thanks to the drivers and teams. Without them, of course, FRLT wouldn't exist. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and leave a like. I will know otherwise. Also, make sure to click on the notification bell to know about all of the content from shorts, videos, and streams. And with that, thank you so much. There's also a link down below to our Twitter and also to our Discord server. I just could not think of it in the moment. I just couldn't think of it. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll be back very soon. And hopefully I won't sound like this. Hopefully I don't sound all nasally. But with that, thank you so much. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Goodbye.
Feel like we're falling away. Maybe I just need to feel nothing to make it easier to turn away and leave. Maybe we're fan and flame. So why do I keep holding out my hand to get burned? I don't wanna clash anymore. I can hear the ghosts in the walls. It's telling me to run away, yeah. I don't wanna crash anymore. I can hear the ghosts in the walls. It's telling me to run away.
Here in Monza, and it is a race opening victory for Eve. I'm still battling with Kuba.
You said you don't know me well, but I'm your angel in white. I'll be close if you come, I'll be just behind you. You're not on the list, but I can get you inside. Use your mind, listen to my voice as a guide. You give yourself over, yeah, you don't wanna fight. If you do, I'm gonna bid you on.
But he's gone wide! He's going incredible!
Take it, you're doing alright. And if you don't trust it, hold it up to the light. So quiet, try to hide it. If a new thought formed, we would swallow it down. Empty stares, never question the illusion. If you play alone, they will leave you to drown. Stand up, 'cause we are the